Hello everyone. Today I am starting TYBMS Semester 6 subject Strategic Financial Management. In that subject, today I started the dividend decision topic. So before starting the dividend decision, we can firstly understand the concept of dividend. Meaning, the dividend decision is that portion of the profit which is distributed to the shareholders. When a company earns a profit or the surplus, it is unable to pay the proportion of the profit as a dividend to the shareholders. The dividend is a reward to the equity shareholder for their investment in the company. It is a basic right of the equity shareholders to get the dividend from the earning of the company. Any amount is not distributed is taken to be reinvestment in the business is called as a retained earning. So now we can understand what is dividend decision. The dividend decision is related to the appropriation of the earned profit. A company has to decide how much profit to distribute it as a dividend and how much to retain the investment in the business. The dividend policy of the company should be to maximize the market value per share. The dividend decision should be made keeping in the mind the overall objective of the maximization of the shareholder wealth. So basically, the dividend decision is a concern with the distribution of the surplus fund. The surplus profit is either distributed to the equity shareholder in the form of the dividend or kept aside in the form of the retained earning. Under the dividend decision, the finance manager decided how much to distribute it in the form of the dividend and how much to be kept aside as a retained earning. Then the forms of dividend, or we can say the types of dividend. There are various types of the dividend. The first and the foremost important is a cash dividend. The cash dividend is the most common form of the dividend. On the date of the declaration, the board of directors resolved to pay a certain dividend amount in the cash to those investors holding the company's stock on a specific date. Or we can say in the cash dividend, the dividend is pay in the form of cash. Then the second will be the scrip dividend. So in the scrip dividend, the company may not having a sufficient fund to issue the dividend in the near future. So they issue the scrip dividend, which is essentially a promissory note to pay a shareholders at a later date. In the scrip dividend, the dividend pay in the form of the promissory note instead of the cash. Then the third is a bond dividend. It is a similar or the same kind in nature like a scrip dividend. In this form of the dividend, the company issue the bonds to the shareholder in the place of the cash. Then the fourth is a stock dividend. Stock dividend is also known as a bonus dividend. A stock dividend is a dividend payment to the shareholders that is made in the shares rather than a cash. So we can say in the stock or the bonus dividend, the company issue the additional shares to their investment in the form of the dividend. Then the next will be the property dividend. A company may issue the non-monetary dividend to the investors rather than making the cash or a stock. In the property dividend, the company provided any asset to the shareholders in the form of dividend. Then the last is a liquidating dividend. In liquidating dividend, when a board of directors wishes to return the capital originally contributed by the shareholders as a dividend, it is called as a liquidating dividend. In this liquidating dividend, the shareholders wanted their capital return. Maybe they can going to or they are intended to go for shutting down the business. So these are the various forms or the types of the dividend. The next subtopic is the factors affecting the dividend policy of the company. There are various factors that affected the dividend policy of the company. The first and the foremost important is the amount of earning, or we can say the earnings of the company. The earnings of the company is a very important part because we can distribute it our dividend as a part of our earnings. So if the company earn the more, they can give the high dividend to their shareholders, and if the earning is a low, then it is affected the dividend rate or the dividend policy rate of the company. The second factor is The stability of the earnings. The nature of business has an the important on the dividend policy. The industrial units have a stability of the earning may formulated a more consistent dividend policy than those having and the uneven flow of the income. So stability of earning is also the very important part for the factor affect for the dividend policy. The reason is that because when the company or the organization earn the stable income, they can give the stable dividend rate or the stable dividend to their shareholders. Then the next point is age of the corporation or the organization. The age of the corporation or the organization count much in deciding the dividend policy. A newly established company may require much its earning for the expansion and the plan for the improvement and may adopt a rigid dividend policy. But and the older company can formulate a clear cut and more consistent policy regarding the dividend. The next point is growth opportunity. So the growth opportunity of the company is important. It has a company more if the company has more growth plans and the more investment opportunity, then the more amount is kept aside as a return earning and less given in the form of the dividend. If the less growth plan, the company will distribute it the more in the form of the dividend. So the growth opportunity of the company is also uh, uh, playing also important role. Then the next point is cash flow position. The dividend involved and the outflow of the cash. A company may be profitable, but in a shortage in a cash, the availability of the enough cash in the company is a necessary for declaration of the dividend. So the cash flow position of the company is also important. Then the next point is this taxation policy. The high taxation reduce the earning of the company and consequently the rate of the dividend is a lower down. The dividend tax of the distribution of the dividend beyond the certain limit affected the dividend policy of the company. Past dividend rate. Yes, while deciding or while formulating the dividend policy, the director must keep in the mind the dividend paid in the past year. The current year should be around, the current year dividend rate should be around or the average of the past rate of your dividend policy. If it has been abnormally increases, it the shares will be subjected to the speculation in the new concern. The company should consider the dividend policy of the rival organization. If your company is a newly established, so you don't have any past dividend rate or the past data for the reference purpose, so in that case you can say or you can consider the rival organization's dividend policy. Then the next will be the legal requirement. In deciding on the dividend, the director takes the legal requirement to into the consideration. The Company Act has given a certain provision regarding the payment of the dividend that can be paid only out of the current year profit or the past year profit after providing the depreciation fund. So the legal requirement is also the important, or we can say the finance manager uh, can study the legal requirement while deciding the dividend policy of the company. So these are the various factors that affecting the dividend policy of the company, or we can say when the finance manager deciding the dividend policy, uh, he can study all the factors to their organization. So the above all that factors affecting the dividend policy decision of the company. So we will wind up here today. Thank you so much.